The galactic station Nexus 7 hummed with the usual cacophony of 1,000 different species conducting business, but James barely noticed the noise anymore. After 3 years working as a maintenance engineer on the station, he had grown accustomed to the multilingual chatter, the strange smells of alien cuisine, and the occasional diplomatic incident that required security intervention. What he hadn't grown accustomed to was hunger. The station's food synthesizers produced nutritionally complete meals, but they all tasted like cardboard, soaked in synthetic flavoring. The various alien restaurants catered to species with entirely different biochemistry. What passed for delicious, to a Zentorian, would likely dissolve human stomach lining. James wiped grease from his hands as he finished repairing another atmospheric processor. His shift was over, and his stomach was protesting loudly. He was contemplating another evening of flavorless protein bars when he noticed her sitting alone in the corner of the maintenance bay. Elsa was a Kitharan, one of the newer species to join the Galactic Coalition. Her people were tall and willowy, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the station's artificial lighting. Large, dark eyes dominated her angular face, and her long silver hair was braided with small technological devices that served as both communication tools and cultural identifiers. She looked exhausted and, if James was reading her alien body language correctly, hungry. "Long day?" James asked, setting down his tools. Elsa's head turned toward him, those enormous eyes focusing with surprise. Most humans on the station avoided lengthy conversations with aliens. Too many cultural misunderstandings, too many accidentally offensive remarks. "I don't talk much, human," she said, her voice carrying the melodic quality typical of her species. "But, yes, very long day. The cultural liaison position is more challenging than anticipated." James nodded. He'd heard about the Kitharean cultural exchange program. Elsa was probably one of only a dozen of her kind on the entire station, trying to bridge the gap between her people's ancient traditions and the Coalition's modern bureaucracy. "Hungry?" he asked. Her stomach answered for her, a soft, musical rumble that would have been beautiful if it hadn't sounded so plaintive. "The food synthesizers," she began, then made a gesture that clearly conveyed disgust. "And the alien restaurants serve things that are incompatible with Kitharean physiology." James found himself smiling. "I don't talk much either," he said. "But I can cook." Elsa's eyes widened, literally. The pupils dilated and the iris seemed to shift from deep blue to lighter azure. "You cook? With fire and organic ingredients, like the ancient ways?" "Yeah, exactly like that. Want to come to my quarters?" I was about to make dinner anyway. For a moment, Elsa just stared at him. Then she stood, unfolding to her full height of nearly 7 feet. "You would invite me to your personal space? To share food you prepared yourself?" "Sure. Why not?" What James didn't understand was the cultural significance of his casual invitation. Among Kithareans, sharing personally prepared food was an act of profound trust and friendship. To invite someone into your kitchen, to allow them to watch the sacred act of creation that was cooking, it was more intimate than most humans would ever comprehend. James's quarters were modest but comfortable. The kitchen was his pride and joy, a small space he'd modified with actual cooking equipment smuggled aboard over the years. A real stove, pots and pans, a collection of spices and ingredients that cost him a small fortune to import. "Make yourself comfortable," he said, rolling up his sleeves. "Hope you like pasta." Elsa perched delicately on a chair, watching as James filled a pot with water and set it on the stove. Her eyes tracked his every movement as he diced onions, minced garlic, and prepared fresh tomatoes. "This is remarkable," she whispered. "You transform raw ingredients through heat and chemistry. It's like alchemy." James chuckled. "My grandmother taught me. Said a man who couldn't cook would never be truly independent." He glanced at Elsa. "What do your people eat?" "Nutrient paste, precisely formulated for optimal health." Her voice carried a note of sadness. "We gave up cooking 3,000 years ago. Too inefficient, too emotional." "Emotional?" "Food prepared with care, with feeling. It affects the consumer in ways beyond mere nutrition. Our ancestors believed it could influence mood, create bonds between people, even heal spiritual wounds. The council decided such things were primitive. James was quiet for a moment, stirring the sauce. Maybe primitive isn't always bad. As the aroma filled the small kitchen, Elsa's entire posture changed. She leaned forward, inhaling deeply, and made a sound that was part sigh, part song. "The smell," she breathed. I don't have words in your language. Try me." Nostalgic, for a memory I never had. Like coming home to a place that exists only in dreams. James served the pasta in his best bowls, adding a sprinkle of parmesan and fresh basil. Elsa approached the meal with almost religious reverence, taking small, careful bites. Then she began to cry. Not the desperate sobbing of grief, but gentle tears that sparkled like liquid starlight on her blue cheeks. Between bites, she spoke, softly, of her grandmother's stories about the old ways, about kitchens filled with warmth and laughter, about the connections that formed over shared meals. "Your people," she said finally. "You still understand something we lost. You create, not just food, but feeling, connection, art." James sat across from her, watching this elegant alien woman rediscover something her species had forgotten. "Maybe that's why we're all out here," he said quietly. "In space, I mean. Not just to explore, but to share what makes us who we are." Elsa nodded, tears still flowing. "I don't talk much, human James, but this is a conversation my soul has been waiting 3,000 years to have." Outside, the station continued its endless orbit, a tiny point of light in the vast darkness. But inside a modest kitchen, two beings from different worlds had found something universal: the simple, profound act of sharing a meal prepared with care. When Elsa finally left, she carried with her not just the memory of flavors, but the knowledge that somewhere in the galaxy, the ancient art of cooking, and the connections it created, still lived on. And James understood why the galaxy needed humanity, not for their technology or their weapons or their diplomatic skills, but for their ability to transform simple ingredients into something that could heal the hunger of both body and soul.